QuickBooks Online 2025 Accounts Payable Graphs. Get ready and some coffee because we're learning how to save time with QuickBooks Online 2025. We are online in our browser searching for that QuickBooks Online test drive, the free sample company file available to everybody. Looking for the result that has intuit.com in the URL because Intuit is the owner of QuickBooks. We want to choose the United States version of the software, and then we're going to hit that checkbox saying we're not a robot and continue. Closing the prior tab, we're now in the sample company file, Craig's Design and Landscaping Services, opening the financial statement reports as done every time. The reports, you know where they're at. They're on the left-hand side. We're in the Standards tab, the Favorites. Right-click in the balance sheet to open a link in a new tab. Right-click in the P&L profit and loss, open a link in a new tab. Tab into the middle, close in the hamburger so we have some elbow room on the plate. I need to cut my meat on the plate. I need to cut my steak, and I have to put the hamburger 010124 tab 123125. Selecting the drop down to see it in years, and then run it so it can refresh it. 2024 and 25 side by side, tabbing to the right, repeating the process, closing the hamburger, and change the range. 010124 tab 123125 tab, drop down, years, running, refreshing, 24, 25 side by side. So now we're looking at generating reports and thinking about graphs that we can add to the reports that possibly we provide as a bookkeeper on, say, a monthly basis, quarterly basis, yearly basis to the clients. Anything that we, in essence, have a subledger for, we might be able to make a nice pie chart or graph to add to our reports, such as on the income statement, breaking out income for the subledgers of the sales by customer or sales by item. We'll talk more about that later. Or the expenses, possibly expenses by vendor. Or on the balance sheet, we have the accounts receivable, which we can break out accounts receivable by customer. And then the accounts payable, which we'll touch on this time, we could break out the accounts payable by vendor. Remembering that small businesses might not have accounts payable as often as the accounts receivable because oftentimes small businesses pay off their bills as they become due, often with the help and use of electronic transfers and the integration of bank feeds. But as companies get larger, then it's going to be more and more worth our time to try to pay for things as late as possible, in which case accounts payable becomes more and more important. But just from a general standpoint, it's an account that has a typical subledger, which is a great example for making graphs out of. So let's just make that graph fairly quickly. Similar process to the receivable side of things. Go into the tab to the left, go into the reports on the bottom. Let's close the hamburger for now. Scrolling down, who owes you? No, that's not what we want. We want what you owe. So I want to look at the vendor balance summary report, which I will right click on. We'll open it in a new tab and let's take a look at it. Let's do it for 2024 this time because I think that's what our other reports were as of. Closing the ham boogie. Let's do a date range custom going as of 12/31/24 this time. Run it. So, wait, that's too few. Let's bring it to 2025, 12/31/25, so we have some information in there. All right. So this is the accounts receivable 160267. That should tie out to what is on the balance sheet as of 2025, 160267. And you can see that this report is nice and easy to just create a pie chart from, or a bar chart, because it's just a column of numbers and a total. Perfect. So let's just do that quickly. We're gonna export this to Excel, create our pie chart, which we can then group together with the reports that we give to our client, possibly by adding it to the PDF or by grouping it together in Excel, making everything on one PDF file, which is what we will practice doing here. Selecting the drop down, I'm just gonna export this Excel worksheet and we'll put it into here. I'll just name it 2 and then I'll open it up. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? And I see it. There it is. And now we'll just basically format it from here. Now hold on, that's not the one. That's not the one. Okay, so this is the one. All right. So now we have the information in here. I'm going to pull it into our other worksheet where we've put all of our other reports. You don't have to do this to format it, but that's going to be our practice so that we can practice using Excel to group all our reports, format them a little bit further, and then print them using a PDF printer to one file, which is fancy, fancy. Right click on the tab below. I'm going to move or copy it to bring it to our other workbook, which is like the other document for Excel. Selecting the dropdown, this is where I want it to go. I'm going to create a copy of it and say, okay, boom. I'll grab it. It puts it on the left-hand side. I'm just going to grab that tab, holding down the left click and drag it to the right. So there it is. I'll close up the other document as it is no longer needed. It's served its purpose and therefore will be deleted. All right. Let's just clean this thing up. I'm going to remove, I'll do this fairly quick because we saw it before, and because this isn't an Excel course, it'll just give us an idea on how you might clean this stuff up and make a nice quick graph. So let's select from row 1 to row 5. Don't need those no more. Right clicking on them and delete them. We're going to do the same for this bottom bit. I'm just going to go from 8 to 12 to delete that bit. Right click and delete it. And then I'm going to select a cell outside of our information, go into the Home tab, Format Painter, and I'll paint the whole sheet to have everything formatted similarly. Then I'll right-click on that sheet to format it the way I want the baseline format to be, which is going to be currency, negative numbers bracketed, no $sign, removing the decimals, and OK. And then we can then make it bold, and I'll close this up a bit. And now the total is, I'd rather have a sum function than that, so I'm just going to say equals the SUM. There we have it. Now I could just use this to just insert a pie graph. This is all we need to do. We could just select these items, and I can go to the insert and then charts, add in a pie graph. I like this one. Or you could do, this is a nice fancy one just to switch things up a bit. Let's do that one. Right, and so now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So there's not too many of them. Therefore, I don't have too many categories. If you had more categories than that, then maybe you would want to sum the other ones together and put them into an other category, right? So if I had more categories, then I could just group the last few together in the sum. By the way, I should have, the last pie chart I didn't quite do it. I should have sorted the data. So in other words, if I go back on over here, I should have sorted this data in order before I added the other tab down here. So let me just show you what I mean in the current, in this one. So what I probably should have done first, there's a couple ways we can sort the data. I can add a table here, or maybe I'm going to select this and pull it down, and I'm going to say this is going to be the vendors, and then this is going to be the amount. And then I'd like to filter, I want to filter the data that doesn't include the total. So I'm going to go into the Insert tab and then say that we want to, the Data tab, and then Sort, filtering it. And so now that added my little filter handles, and I want it to go from largest to smallest, which is Z to A. So now it's going, well, wait, did that happen? It did filter the total that way. So now it's still filtered the total. So that's good. So what I'll do is I'll then delete this total column, total row, delete that. And so that still adds up to the total here. And then I'll sum it up down below, just so I have my check figure. So there's the check figure. Okay, so now, and if I only want, like if these two, if I had more categories than I want in a graph, I might, for example, take these two and say they add up to 291 and put 291 and say that these two are going to be in the other category, right? And put them like at the bottom. It should still add up to the total of 1602, which should tie out to what's over here, 1602 still. Okay. And then let's just re-input the graph. So now I'm going to go selecting these items and then insert chart and do this funny donut chart. I'll get rid of the title and there it is. And then of course we have our different formats that we can choose for them. So there's the one with the actual percents in it. So maybe one of these two. That one's kind of fancy. So there we have that. So now we have basically our donut chart, and we have the percents in there, and I put it in the proper ordering this time. So that's better, which I should have done over here. I should have ordered them before I entered the percents. Okay, so now let's imagine that we want to now print this whole thing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another tab, and this is going to be the AP graph tab, let's say, and this one's going to be, I'm going to rename it to the AP data tab. And so that now I'm going to copy this graph and put it over here, and then I'll check it out. So now I can see it fits on a page because there's the line, but maybe I want to see it landscape to make it a little longer, possibly. This one actually fits pretty good if I add the top bit up there, but maybe I want to like use a format where it's on this side, right? In which case maybe I want to make it longer landscape, so I can go to the page layout, orientation, make it landscape, and so now I can make it wider, possibly this way, giving it more room, which it fits pretty good. So in any case, let's make this a little smaller. All right, and then of course we could do other charts. So I could do like a chart just selecting these items and insert a bar chart. So we could do a bar chart like that. And these percentages, where do they come from? They're just, you can calculate them by saying this is going to be this divided by the total, F4 on the keyboard, so that number doesn't change when I copy it down. And then percentages, copy it down, and then we'll sum it up. And that's where those percentages should be, making that a percent. So there we have it, total 100%. So that's what we're calculating. And then then you could take your bar chart over here, and again, sorry, I'm saying again all the time. I'm going to copy that and put that on this side, and then paste it, and we can put that over here, possibly on another page. So there we have that one. And now you might want these graphs to show up without this here. So in other words, if I went back to and notice I have to click off the graph in the printable area and then go into File, Print, and want to print the entire workbook to the Qt PDF printer. If I scroll down, I don't want the Data tab in there is the problem. So there's these Data tabs. I don't want those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and I'm going to remove the Data tabs by right-clicking and hide. And then I'm going to go to this Data tab, AR Data, right-click and hide. So now, if I click over here somewhere in where I want to print, Home or File, Print, the entire workbook using the Qt PDF printer, and scroll down, now we've got these nice graphs that we can add. Notice I put a header here. On this one, I didn't put a header, but instead of putting the header in the graph, I can put it at the top of the worksheet. And possibly that would be a better way to put the header in there so that I can not have to include it in the formatting of the header of the graph. Similarly here, I could put it at the top of the worksheet the header of the graph. So I'm not going to get too much into the formatting of it. That's just the general idea. You can then get into details on how to customize those. So I'm going to select from here, holding down Shift, right click, and unhide now to bring these back, holding down Shift to select both of them. And so now we've got the data tabs have now returned. So that's the general idea.